welcome to the Peacock Homestead. If you are new here, my name is Elizabeth. For this week's video, I was going to be seasoning my cast iron pans. I seen that Jessica did it over at the Three Rivers Homestead a couple of videos ago, so I was inspired by her to do that, and it definitely needed to be done. I just purchased a new cast iron pan, so I added that to the mix, and we're going to be doing that today. I have a few homestead meals I want to share with you, as well as some body butter, and I'm making some homemade mayo. And I think that's about it. That's our homestead happenings for this week, so I hope you enjoy. This was much needed. I haven't done this in such a long time. I'm going to season my cast iron pans with my beef towel that I had rendered in a video. And as you can see, some of them are not seasoned very well. And this is the new one that I had bought in. And it's actually a really old cast iron pan. I noticed that my cast iron pan had markings on the back, my Wagner Sydney pan, and it was from the years 1910 to 1930. So that was when that was made. I thought that was so cool. I'm just adding a little bit of beef towel because if you use too much, which I did in this pan, you'll get a sticky pool of baked on oil. So what you do to remove that is you heat your pan up and you add a little bit of olive oil and some sea salt, and it will get it right off. I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 degrees and I'm going to cook them for about an hour. It will get a little smoky in the oven, so what you do is you just open the window and put on a little fan, and that does help out a lot. So the reason that we season cast iron pans, it forms a non-stick surface and it protects the pan from rust by forming a layer of polymerized oil, which is just a protective layer of non-stick coating. So there they are. I got them facing up. That's how I like to do it. And this is what they look like all seasoned. So I'm going to let these cool all the way, and then I'm going to hang them on my little rack that the hubs made. And then they'll be ready for cooking. I usually season my cast iron pans 1 to 2 times a year, but I oil it in between, especially after a good washing. And I'm so glad I got that done. Now they are well seasoned and ready to go. And then this is one of the little planters I got at Walmart. It was around $5 and I planted a whole bunch of my seeds in there, so I'm super excited for that. And now I'll just keep the seeds wet until they all pop. And I'll be super excited to put those in the garden. And here is the seeds I planted in the last video. I am doing an experiment. I put these under a little grow light and we'll see how that works. So on this night, I decided I was going to make a spatchcock chicken. That's just taking out the backbone and flattening the chicken out on the pan, and then I was going to put some olive oil on top with a little bit of herbs de Provence, and then I decided to put a whole lemon on it, and then I was going to bake it, and it took about an hour and a half. And I have a little thermometer, and then I just make sure it's cooked all the way, and that was about at 160 degrees Fahrenheit. But you see how easy that was? You just cut the backbone out, and then you kind of make sure it flattens out in the pan, and then you put all your spices on it. And what I did is I covered it with another piece of parchment paper so it wouldn't burn on top. So that's what it looks like. It looks kind of silly, but I'm just going to be adding some olive oil and some herbs de Provence. And then I'm going to cut up a lemon and stick that on there and bake it until it's done at about 350 degrees. I decided to pair it with some potatoes, so I'm gonna make some fries. And then I have some collard greens as a side dish. So that's all gonna go right in the oven. I'm gonna just oil up these fries with some olive oil and put some herbes de Provence, because that's my favorite spice to put on a lot of my savory dishes, and it's super delicious. And I was gonna bake these at 350. I was just gonna put it in the oven with the chicken and bake it until they're golden brown and crispy. And doesn't that look delicious? It was so awesome. I love this dinner. It was the first time I ever did a spatchcock chicken. And then the fries turned out really nice. It did cook quicker than usual, so I will be doing this again. And all I did was put a little bit of chicken bouillon spice in the collard greens with butter, and it was really yummy. So that's what dinner looked like on that night. And we will be putting this on the menu for another night. It was really good. On this night, I decided I was going to make a homemade pasta, so I'm just making a meat sauce with some hamburger. I'm browning that up in my new cast iron pan, and it's working wonderful. I think my favorite cast irons are the flat surfaces. I really do enjoy them. And of course I have a helper here. He's always underfoot, so I gotta be careful. And I have a quart jar of spaghetti sauce that I had canned up this fall. I had already put Italian spices in it when I canned it. So I'm just gonna add a tablespoon of sugar, a dash of salt, and a dash of pepper, and it should be good to go. I'm gonna turn up the slow cooker to high, and then I'm gonna let that cook for about 3 to 4 hours, and it gets the meat nice and tender. And now for the pasta, and this is the fun part. I really enjoy making this because it turned out so wonderful, and I love making all of my things from scratch. I do sometimes use convenience food like hamburger buns and whatnot when I'm really busy, but this is super special. So I used 400 grams of flour and 4 eggs. So it's 1 egg per 100 grams of flour. And then I made it into a ball. I had to add like a tablespoon of water because it was a little bit drier than I liked. And then we're gonna pot this in some cellophane and let it sit at room temperature for about 30 minutes so all the ingredients can just mend together, and it'll be really nice and easy to roll out. If you don't have a pasta machine, you can use a rolling pin, and then you can just use a pizza cutter and make your little strips of spaghetti that way. I'm just going to portion this out into 4 balls. And then I'm going to flour it really good because I don't want it sticking to my pasta machine. Then I'm going to get going on rolling the pasta. I'm definitely not an expert on rolling out pasta and making pasta. It's like my 3rd time ever making pasta. The 2nd time I made pasta, I made a ugly chicken lasagna. The first time I used a rolling pin and it was really thick. So I'm blessed to have this machine for sure. Then this is the 3rd time I've ever made pasta, and I'm going to be using the fettuccine cutter right here. So it's going to the fettuccine size of pasta that I wanted. And then I'm going to hang them up to dry. And then I had so much left over that I put some in a bag, and I'm going to save it for whenever I'm in the mood for pasta again. So that's what the pasta looks like. That was a lot of pasta. That was enough for me and Tom for 2 meals. So I have half hanging up, and then I'm gonna dry that, and it took till the very next day to dry, and then I put it in a bag, and it's just in a Ziploc bag in my food pantry. I do not think I'll be buying pasta ever again because this was so delicious. I definitely prefer homemade pasta over store-bought any day. It'd be super beneficial for us if I had made a whole bunch more and just stored it away, but we're gonna do this test run with the dry pasta first and then see how that goes. But this is what dinner looked like on that night, and it was so wonderful. It was a nice comfort meal and really filling. And this is how much that we had left over. I let it cure on the drying rack overnight, so that will be a good meal for another night. A week ago, I had ordered some sun butter, and I'm starting to order some of my canning lids for when I have to do my bulk canning in the fall. And of course, I have another helper. Those are my regular mouth lids. I stocked up on those, and my husband and I do prefer sun butter over peanut butter, but I do use both. There's no allergies here, but we do prefer the taste of sun butter, and I like buying it in bulk on Amazon. I got this for $35 for 6. And this is a wonderful cookbook that I own. I got it a while ago, and I just love the recipes in here. It's called Hope's Table by Hope Helmuth. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, but it is a wonderful book. It's one of my favorite Mennonite cookbooks. And I had also purchased some seeds. I have nasturtiums, lemon balm, and I also have a few zinnia seeds because I love to pick flowers and bring them in the house just to make a nicer environment for myself and have the summer brought into my house. So I'm doing one of the recipes in Hope's cookbook. I'm making some coleslaw, and then I have a few ingredients here. I have lemon juice, mayonnaise, sugar, white vinegar, cabbage, and some carrots that I'm going to be shredding up. So I'm going to shred these carrots up with just my little cheese shredder. I have 3 carrots, and then I'm only going to be using half a cabbage because that is a lot of coleslaw for just me and my husband. And I did give the leftovers to my chickies, well deserved, because they make me all those beautiful eggs. But this is a really easy, simple recipe, and you'll find it right in her cookbook. See, I got my shredded carrots there, and I'm just gonna zip up this cabbage. And then we've been using cabbage, and we've just been having it as a side dish. All I do was fry it up with butter, salt, and pepper, and it's been such a good side dish, and it's super good for you too. With the coleslaw, we are going to have hamburgers, and I'm using my brand new pan. So I made sure I greased it really well, and I got it really hot before putting it in, and it does not stick at all. And of course, I did mention, I think I mentioned that I love the flat surface cast iron pans a lot better than the rigid ones. So those gonna cook in there, and I'm gonna add cheese to it. We'll have cheeseburgers and coleslaw for dinner. So that's gonna be super delicious. My hub's favorite meal. And then we'll have a little bit of onion on the side, and of course I have onion on mine too. And that's what dinner looked like on that night. and I am making another wonderful recipe from Hope's cookbook. These are blueberry white chocolate chip scones, and the trick to making wonderful scones, because I've been making scones for a long time, is using really cold butter. All I did was use my little cheese grater and I grated in some butter that was from the refrigerator, and it makes them super delicious and nice and crumbly, just the way you want them. And then it makes 8 scones, so I'm just getting them on a little parchment paper so they don't stick. And then I am going to sprinkle a little bit of white sugar on top just to taste, because there's really not that much sugar inside except for the white chocolate chips and a little bit to the mix, and that's it. They're a super delicious scone. I love these so much. This is the 7th time I've ever made them, and I love them. I will keep making them forever. But I think I'm going to be making these for my birthday. They're my favorite. And it is my birthday week this week. My birthday is going to be on Tuesday, tomorrow. But look how delicious these are. I love them so much. And of course I had to try one. I wanted to show you how I make my mayonnaise when I actually have time and I'm not feeling lazy. I do make my own mayonnaise, and the recipe I will have on my blog, thepeacockhomestead.com. So all you need is a little bit of salt. I'm using sea salt, apple cider vinegar, Dijon mustard, avocado oil, and lemon juice, and just 1 egg. And if you want to double or triple the recipe, feel free. And I'm going to be adding 1 cup of avocado oil. And you're going to need a stick blender for this as well. And then I'm going to add 1 egg. And it's a medium to larger egg. And then for the Dijon mustard, I'm adding 1/4 a teaspoon, but I'm just eyeballing it, of course, and measuring with my heart. And then I have a little teaspoon of salt. The recipe calls for 1/4, but I like a little extra. And then for the apple cider vinegar, I used a teaspoon. And I do prefer apple cider vinegar over white distilled. And then for the lemon juice, I use 1/2 tablespoon of that, just for taste. And then we are going to zip this right up. So what you do is you put your stick blender all the way to the bottom, and then you just kind of oscillate it around till it gets nice and thick. And I had to switch jars. I put it in a quart jar first, and then I switched it over to a pint, and then I used a wide mouth. But look how thick and beautiful that is. And don't forget to label it, and it'll last for 1 to 2 weeks. And it's ready to go in my fridge. And I had it with a ham sandwich for lunch the next day, and it was super delicious. I loved it. This week was so beautiful. The sun was out. It was still a little bit chilly. A lot of our snow is gone, thank goodness. So I decided I was going to go out and tackle the chicken pen and get it all raked up. Of course, they're going to be underfoot, but that's how my ladies are. They love me. I am the treat mama. I give them all their little treats, and of course I am spoiling them today and giving them the leftover coleslaw. And then I had Louise jump right in my shovel earlier. I was like, oh my goodness, you guys are such a handful. I had to be careful because they're right underfoot. And I did separate 2 different bowls. I have 1 bowl of coleslaw in the chicken coop and 1 out. And Thelma wanted to say hello. She's like, what is that? But they're such little characters. And there is Hermione and Louise. And then I have one of my other little girls out there, but they're all helping. And they totally enjoyed me being out there. I turned over some rocks and some little logs, and they were having so much fun getting all those worms, which is good protein. And it is good to spend time with your animals. They get to know you. If you have to do something with them, they won't freak out. Like if you have to trim their wings or fix an injured foot or just give them some loving. I usually pick my chickens up and give them a little pet. They get a little squirmy at first, but then they get used to it and they start asking for it. So they're super cute. I love my chickens. I saved the best recipe for last for you guys. I'm making body mango butter. So I have some mango butter here. I also have some infused dandelion oil. I'm going to be using some tea tree essential oil. And then I have some lemon essential oil here. And I have orange. And I also added some frankincense that I'll show you while I'm getting it all mixed up. So what we're going to do is we are going to get your mango butter out, and that's what that looks like. And I'm going to measure out 3/4 cups of that. So if you don't have any mango butter, you can use shea butter, coconut oil, avocado butter, and you can even use beef tallow. They've all worked for all the body butters that I've ever made. And it's kind of thick, but I'm going to melt it in the microwave in 30-second intervals just so it'll get nice and mixed up. And then I'm going to get out my oil of choice. If you don't have an infused oil, you can just use regular olive oil or avocado oil. You can also use a liquid coconut oil as well. It will work just as fine. As long as you have a liquid and a solid fat, it will turn out wonderful. So this is my infused dandelion oil. I'm going to add 5 tablespoons of that. And it turned out really wonderful. I can't wait for you guys to try this. So this is what it looked like after about 2 30-second intervals. And I'm going to be adding 10 drops of each essential oil. And I have orange essential oil, which smells really wonderful. It's one of my favorites. I have lemon essential oil. And then I'm adding tea tree and frankincense oil. And this turned out wonderful. I love the way it smelled, and it was a gift to my hubby. It definitely makes me feel good knowing that I can make these products from scratch. I know the ingredients that's going in them, and there's nothing hidden that's snuck in that it can be detrimental to my health. And I will have the recipe linked below for you. And look how beautiful that is. I love the way it goes on your skin. It's nice and smooth and moisturizing, and it is perfect. And don't forget to label your jars. This will last about a year because there's essential oils in it, but my husband will probably use it up in a month and a half. So I'm going to label this and give it to him as a present. And it makes wonderful gifts. I hope you guys are all having a wonderful week, and I hope I inspired you. If you are new here, I would love it if you give me a subscribe. Many blessings, and I will see you on the next video.